He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, my friends. This is Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. I want to remind you of something. First of all, the finest book I've read on Ronald Reagan, and there are many great books out there, is Craig Shirley's Rendezvous with Destiny. Because Craig was there, I was there. Just a terrific book. And he reminds us in his book that Reagan's method of taking on the status quo, including the status quo of the Republican Party, was far different than Jimmy Carter's in the opening months of 1977. He addressed important conservative organizations to explain his vision. I'm underscoring this because we've talked about it before. For a new Republican Party. That's what he called it. First, in January, he addressed the annual dinner of the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. And then in early February, he spoke at the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC. And he told his young listeners to look beyond the simple math of the two parties. You know, like Delaware. Look beyond the simple math of the two parties and instead focus on the disparity between self-identified conservatives and liberals. During his CPAC address, he noted that on January 5, 1977, by a 43-19 plurality, those polled by Harris said they would prefer to see the country move in a more conservative direction than a liberal one. That hasn't changed. Reagan called for bringing into the Republican fold those Democrats concerned with social issues, law and order, abortion, busing, quota systems, that are usually associated with the blue-collar ethnic and religious groups. That's a quote. In short, he proposed a fusion between those mercantile and economic interests long associated with the GOP, were mostly concerned with government regulations, and social conservatives who he believed the fabric of society was also threatened by big intrusive government. So Reagan told the conservatives to join him in creating a new, lasting majority. He said this will mean compromise, but not compromise of basic principle. What will emerge will be something new, something open and vital and dynamic, something the great conservative majority will recognize as its own, because at the heart of this undertaking is principled politics. Principled politics. Then Reagan took on the Republican Party, telling his CPAC audience of young folks that the party, quote, cannot be one limited to the country club, big business image that it is burdened with today. The new Republican Party I'm speaking about, he said, is going to have room for the men and women in the factories, for the farmer, for the cop on the beat. And he closed his groundbreaking speech by telling the assembled conservatives, quote, I'm quoting, our task is not to sell a philosophy, but to make the majority of Americans who already share that philosophy see that modern conservatism offers them a political home. He said, we're not a cult. We are members of a majority. Let's act and talk like it. The job is ours, and the job must be done. If not by us, who? If not now, when? Reagan said our party must be the party of the individual. It must not sell out the individual to cater to the group. No greater challenge faces our society today than ensuring that each one of us can maintain his dignity and his identity in an increasingly complex, centralized society. He said extreme taxation, excessive controls, oppressive government competition with business, Galloping inflation at the time, frustrated minorities, and forgotten Americans are not the products of free enterprise. They are the residue of centralized bureaucracy, of government by a self-anointed elite. He said our party must be based on the kind of leadership that grows and takes its strength from the people. Any organization is in actuality only the lengthened shadow of its members. A political party, he said, is a mechanical structure created to further a cause. The cause, not the mechanism, brings and holds the members together. That's why these guys with these whiteboards and these chalkboards, it's not about number crunching. It's about the cause, the principles. And he said, and our cause must be to rediscover, reassert, and reapply America's spiritual heritage to our national affairs. Then with God's help we shall indeed be a city upon a hill, he said, with the eyes of all people upon us. Now Reagan received a resounding ovation from the young conservatives gathered at CPAC. The true believers understood Reagan's call. The former governor was not only taking on the established order in Washington, he was also continuing the fight against the dug-in and hostile interests inside the Republican Party. His followers understood that Reagan was distrustful of the concentration of governmental or corporate power. Reagan believed in a natural aristocracy of men who climbed to their highest ambitions without the heavy-handed aid of nobility or government connections. He was defining a new ideology of optimistic and enlightened conservatism that was unsettling to the powers that be that ran the Republican Party. They didn't understand it, so how could they possibly support it? That's a crucial reminder as we get down to two things here. Battling within the government and battling within the Republican Party for the 2012 election cycle, which starts in a few months, believe it or not.